Gratcast.
Yeah, coming to you from the canyon.
Check it out. I'm sure you may be wondering what you're looking at here, but well, you might as well share with them.
It's a Labor Day show, so we were outside. We got the grill over here off camera. We cooked some steaks before for a pre-show meal. Right behind me here, this hammock. That's my workstation, John. That's where all the magic happens.
You know I don't like those things.
Oh, you're out of your mind. That's everything I've written in the past 2 years gets written right there. All the work I do on a usual daily basis, I'm working out of the hammock, John.
And I love the idea, don't get me wrong, but the hammock's always... I always feel like they're going to tip on me. I'm a bigger guy. I mean...
That's why you got to get the big one. That's a two-person, and it's got the wood there. This isn't the net that wraps around you, and you're in a cocoon.
It just gives me that sense.
This is a bed.
You know, it's got to give you guys that sense, right? Not everyone loves a... What is that called again?
A hammock?
A hammock. Whatever.
You're spending the night tonight, John. You should crash on that bad boy instead. Dude, that's the place to sleep.
The flies out here are already killing me.
All right, John, anything exciting happened this week for you?
Exciting? Well, let's see. I mean, I worked a lot. I work an awful lot.
That's not very exciting.
But I ended up somehow injuring my foot. And it's interesting because I thought...
Did Debo step on it?
No, but he was there. Debo, if anyone saw Friday, he actually stayed in my hotel. Not my hotel, but where I work. Anyway.
It's not yours?
No. So I'm working.
If it was, I'd hope you'd have a little better production value here.
Yeah, please. And especially
you're shooting at the top of the hotel.
Especially in Beverly Hills. So I work in Beverly Hills. I don't know if anyone knows this, but you know it now. Work in a hotel restaurant. And
serves the elite.
It's some of them. Some are elite, and some aren't. Some are less than elite. But they're
all out there for a fancy once a year dinner.
They're all generally good people. Let's be honest. But so I'm walking. I'm walking at work. Well, most of us. So I'm walking at work, and it just seems to. I'm thinking that my shoes aren't good enough. So my left heel just keeps. It's like it hurts to walk on. So I've done it for a while. I was out for a small minute with my back. I missed a little time. Came back, and then they scheduled me 5 days a week, 9 hours a day.
Jump right back onto that horse.
And I feel like I hurt my foot. Now I don't know. I didn't slip or do anything. So it's just weird. I'm getting older. I don't know if I hurt my foot or if I'm just getting old and I just screwed something up.
Well, you're definitely falling apart, John.
Well, this is true.
I think I can top your bum wheel as an interesting thing. I got a little show and tell for this week,
At least it's
John.
not a bum ticker. You know what I'm saying?
So, I don't know if you know this, but I've never been a good credit guy until the past few years. Honestly, I've really had almost no credit, just because I worked in collections for a good decade. I've seen the dark side of credit, and I just, as a filmmaker, I've spent what I've had, and that's been the end of it.
Right.
But over the past couple of years, now becoming a business owner and an executive, I got to had to get the house in order. Got to get the credit. Got to build all of that stuff up so it can help us in the future.
Of course.
So now yours truly has good credit, and apparently, Discover Card wants me bad. And now keep in mind as I show you these that there was a number of these that had to come, and I kept throwing them out before it hit me what was going on. And I said, you know what? I got to start collecting these, John, and see how many they're going to give. So these are all Discover Card applications that they've sent me, and they like to try different shapes and colors and reflectiveness to try to figure out what's the color scheme and the style pattern that's going to get me to open up and fill out that app. Look, the sparkles.
You said once a month, right?
The little trippy wave.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so each month I get a different color, a different little animated style on the envelope, and they're it's like a psychology experiment.
I mean, I'm certainly not going to open any of them, but that is weird. I mean, look how different those all are.
Oh, yeah, every single one of them. It's different pattern and a different color scheme, and there's like a psychological test going on at Discover to figure out which variation is going to be the one that Kris is going to open up and fill out.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense considering all the envelopes. I mean, they really are totally. Each one is different.
Yeah. So they haven't repeated yet, and they've got some back end thing. So imagine the money in all of this is being spent on sending these things out every single time, because you can't just get one uniform order of envelopes and all of that, because every month you got a different.
It's got to bring the money in. It's got to, otherwise they wouldn't do it.
I don't know. It just screams desperation to me. Because Citibank, Wells Fargo, B of A, they send you a credit card application. That's kind of the end of it. Discover Card's like, let's experiment here and see what color pattern will get us on the map. Yeah. It just shows that you're the third-rate credit card here.
I mean, I suppose, but honestly, like look at this one. I mean, it's not just like a purple envelope. This is like
that should have came in.
This is like eye-catching.
That should have came in March, if you ask me.
I don't know.
They should start matching them up with the holidays.
I don't know how it looks on camera, but I mean, look how weird. I mean, obviously,
they've got waves, they've got sparkles.
And you said there were more. You just started collecting.
Oh yeah, it took months and months before I'm like, wait a minute. This is like every time they send me one, it's a different one. I'm gonna start collecting these and see what the catalog looks like.
Yeah, that's actually completely that's wild. I never really pay attention to them. If I get them, I just throw them out. But I didn't think to collect them, and they were all going to be just.
We got a spike battle going on now.
Do they hire somebody specific, like an art director, like each new month? It's like you got to come with a new envelope. You got to come with a new one, right?
I have no idea what the plan is, but I just every time one comes in, all I think of is that Seinfeld episode where Kramer decides he's done with the mail and he tries to take it back to the post office.
Oh,
and
the mail.
I went out. I don't want any more mail.
And Newman's like, no, you can't do that. Yeah. You don't know what you're getting into.
Then he tells him how it's going to go down, and then he's riding him. This is my favorite part of the whole Seinfeld. And he's like, oh no, man, you just told me how it's going to go down. A mailman I know, and you're a mailman I know. And he's like, no, there's another way it can go down, and it's going down right now.
Yeah. That was a great show.
So one of the other things we got to start doing here, John, with the show is we got to start pimping ourselves out a little bit better, giving a little more information, where you can find us, where you can find the show. So Gratcast.com is the home base for the episodes. That's where all the audio episodes are put. I've started putting the link to the video episodes. Every Monday night, 7 p.m. Right now, we're going to be doing the episodes live on the Gratwick Productions Facebook page. And we've got Andrea producing the show off camera. So if you're in the chat, you want to talk to us, you got something you want to add to the show or whatever, you let Andrea know, and she's going to chime it right into the show. But if it's after the fact, then the video episode will be edited and then reposted onto YouTube by Wednesdays. And then also on Wednesdays, the audio version of the podcast is posted every single week. And anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts, Apple, Google, SoundCloud, all these different platforms that host podcasts, that's where you can find the audio version of Gratcast.
Which is great because a lot of people didn't know that, and I think that that's good moving forward. We have to continue to every week moving forward.
Oh yeah, and the Twitter. Add us on the Twitter. Gratwick Productions Inc. Over here is the Instagram. Get us on the gram. John, we're gonna tease the show here today, and then we're gonna have our first commercial break. Our first official commercial break is coming up here after we tease what we're gonna do for the show.
Can you believe that? Let's do it.
So John and I decided for Labor Day here, seeing how we're doing a special little outdoor Labor Day show, we were gonna go over our work history, our labor history, as it were, John, over the years. And coming out from the break, we're gonna go through the rundown of all the jobs that John and I have worked over the years to get to where we are now, as we've climbed our own ladder, not necessarily the corporate ladder, and. That's pretty much the show today. We're just going to have fun going over that because John and I have had so many jobs.
A ton of jobs.
It's going to be a close fit here. So Payday Gaming has their new player pass coming available, and we're going to cut right into a commercial here and let the commercial do the talking about Payday's new... All right, John, I'm going to let you get started first here. What was the first job you had? And when we do these jobs and we go back and forth, try and give a little fun memory or a lesson learned or maybe something about the experience.
Something I got from the experience. Okay,
right.
Okay. So here we are.
What do you got?
First one, I actually took it over from my brother. At one point, it was a paper route, like a very young, because we're starting at the beginning, right? We're starting at the beginning.
Did you strong arm him for it, or did you just graduate on? And
I was young, and I felt like I needed more responsibility because I was old enough, and I should be able to do it. What a dumbass. So I
Did you inherit it, or did you strong arm him?
I kind of inherited it because I kind of started helping him. And then I said, well, I want to do it. And then he was finally sick of it. And he's like, well, go ahead.
That's yours now.
And then I got it. And then I realized I didn't want it because I didn't like getting up early to deliver newspapers. And what did I learn? I don't like getting up early to deliver newspapers. I mean, that's pretty much the long and the short of it. You must have had a paper out as well.
I completely forgot I had a paper out until you mentioned your paper out.
Everyone's had a paper out.
Yeah, I delivered the Tonawanda News. I don't know what your first paper out was.
The Detroit News.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I delivered the Tonawanda News, John. And you know what I remember most about my paper route?
What's that?
I had a lesson learned early on that I had a lesson learned early on that I probably should have carried with me because of my future work in collections. I probably should have learned this lesson with my paper route. I'm terrible at collecting money from people. Terrible at it.
I'm not the best either.
So what I would do when I would go out, and it was time to collect every week, if somebody was on vacation or I missed them or whatever, and it was 2 weeks, then I'd catch up to them and I'd let them know. But the real problem came in was when they started getting 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks behind and it started being a big number. I felt embarrassed or ashamed to ask them for the full amount that they owed there. So I'd start cutting, like, I'd take a couple weeks off and I'd take the hit on it out of my tips to pay. Because I felt bad, the amount was so bad.
Dude, wow, okay.
Yeah, I was one of those over-empathetic kids that just was too paranoid about money and asking for it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like asking for it either, but they owed it. It's not like it was something that I was, like, asking for a handout.
Yeah.
I mean, they paid for it.
I was terrible at the paper route. I ended up using most of my tips to pay for people's papers.
Oh my God! Yeah, you were terrible at your paper route. Oh my God! You know what? 2 more things, real quick. I didn't like the rain. That always sucked, and the snow didn't. The weather sucked. Yeah. And I liked, but also disliked the Sunday because I love the funnies. I love the comics, but I hated delivering them because they were just super thick.
The Tonawanda News. It was just the local one. It wasn't like the Buffalo section, so there was no Sunday paper. Yeah, there was no big one. It was super thin. Man, I could knock that out in like 25 minutes if I was flying on my bike.
Heavy, man. This was you couldn't. No, you couldn't.
Oh yeah, you got to do a dead no-name paper if you're going to do a paper route.
Yeah. Okay, so
next job.
Okay, next job. Let's get into it. It wasn't a job per se. Like I got hired by a business. It was, I believe, it was a politician or somebody who wanted me to hand their cards out.
It
was like, I'll give you $50, just go door to door, car to car, whatever. I think I got three city blocks in or 3 suburban blocks in, and my buddy and I, we were just like, well, this sucks, and we just threw him in a dumpster, and then someone somehow fucking found him in the dumpster and reported us, so we didn't get our money, and then we got like chastised. It was horrible. Oh. I don't like door to door.
I had some jobs like that too, John, but they're a little farther down the list. My second job was at a place called Old Man Rivers. Old Man Rivers was like the little local burger and food joint that was on the waterfront down in Buffalo where I grew up.
Okay.
They had 2 locations. They had the popular one that was on the Niagara River and was always slamming and packed. Then they had the other one that was around the corner from my house on the canal on the busy highway boulevard that nobody really didn't go to much. So that's the one I worked at. And pretty much our major customer base was the owners and their family. They didn't get a lot of foot traffic at this one, so we were always just being slaves to, like, I want some fries, make me some fries, and the owners and managers. So this was the first job I ever got fired from. One of only 2 jobs I've been fired from.
Okay.
And I remember to this day when I got fired, they pulled me off to the side and they're like, "Listen, you might be a Burger King guy and you might be a McDonald's guy, but you're just not an Old Man River kind of guy." Yeah, I was 15 years old and cried in my bike all the way home. I'm not an Old Man River guy.
They're like, you're not man enough to work here.
Yeah, so that was the end. And then, as it turns out, about a month later, that location went out of business, and they've only got the 1 location on the waterfront now. And I'm like, yeah, I knew damn well you guys were on the path. You were circling the drain.
They were putting you guys down, so you guys felt like shit when really it was their fault.
Holy shit incoming.
Take cover.
All right, John, you're next.
All right, let's hit it. So my next job was actually like the first official job, and it was a dishwasher in a Chinese restaurant. Peking
the first
Villa.
Punch clock that you had to start
nailing? They didn't have a punch clock. They were these Chinese people. They were just, they come in, you'd write your time, and then you'd write your time when you left. It was very old school.
They were using it was the abacus. You slide one over when you when you show up.
They might as well have, but not quite. So it was just washing dishes. Nothing special. It never seemed overly busy. You're a kid. You're 15 years old washing dishes. What I learned about that particular job was that I actually could eat almond chicken seriously every day for like a year straight. It was unbelievable how much of it, because they only offer you 3 options: almond boneless chicken, sweet and sour chicken, and like pepper steak. there was another dishwasher, and he was like, I just want a hamburger, because it's on the menu. He was like, just make it once. And he was there for like a year. He's like, just make me one hamburger. No. All we don't do hamburgers. Chicken, sweet and sour chicken, pepper steak. It was like, okay. And I love the almond chicken. It was the best. Okay. Dishwasher.
All right, John. So my next job, and I'm going to skip over being a babysitter. I was a babysitter off and on for a couple kids in the neighborhood, but I was one of the worst babysitters that probably ever existed.
That doesn't surprise me.
The only thing I truly remember of babysitting is I remember I bought a Dodge Omni, and it was my first brand new car I bought myself. And by brand new for Kris. Right. This was a beat up old shitty Dodge Omni, but it was new to Kris, and it was red.
Okay.
And I parked this in the driveway of the people I was going to babysit for, and go inside, and they tell me where everything is, and the mom goes to leave, and a couple minutes later she comes back in, and she's like, I'm really sorry, but I'm gonna have to pay you a little bit more than I was planning for babysitting. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, I kind of backed over your car. I'm like, what? She had one of them big people mover vans for kids, the ones that have like 4 rows of bench seats.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
back that shit right up onto the hood of my Dodge Omni.
How? How do you?
If you knew this woman, John, how would not be the first question you asked me.
Well, I assume the why is an accident. Yeah. So.
But yeah, that was my babysitting experience, and but the next real job I had was McDonald's.
It really was.
Yeah. They psychologically basically pushed me there.
Did you find out you were a McDonald's guy at that point?
Well, the McDonald's I ended up working at was less than a block down the road from the Old Man Rivers that had just closed.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because it was all in my little bike riding range.
No, yeah, sure.
I had to stay in my radius.
Of course.
But I was kind of like the rotary player for McDonald's. Like I was kind of the maintenance guy in training, had to wash the windows and change the fryers and all.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, but when it was super busy, they bring me in to come on the fryer and flip some burgers and shit like that. But I wasn't like actually a cook person or anything like that. Yeah. What I learned from McDonald's is fuck that, and made it less than a year and moved on.
That is certainly no shock here, to be honest. And to McDonald's, I give a big. Anyway,
what was your next job, John?
Next job here would be I worked in a mall. Who doesn't work at least in a mall once in their life?
Oh, I got a couple mall jobs coming up.
You know what? This one here made me think of one that I don't have on here in the moving forward. KB Toy Store.
Oh.
KB Toy Store. I was just
for the discount on games.
It was more to get a job, but I was like, oh. Yeah, but I didn't really have the systems at that point. It was just more to get the job. And I'm like, oh, if I work in a toy store, I don't think they had the video stores. I don't think GameStops were invented yet.
No.
Or whatever. So I went in, and it was like toys. I was a kid. I liked toys, whatever. And I learned that...
I like turtles.
You
got the I like turtle button, too, John. Oh.
Do I? I don't even know what
that is. You're not going to find it right now.
Yeah, no, certainly.
Keep moving.
Certainly not. Yeah. So I learned at that job that while I do like people, I really learned at that point that I like people. I also hate people because retail shoppers are horrible. One instance, someone it was in the ghetto too. Well, not the ghetto, but it was one of the best area. So these kids come in and they pay, and they just pull money out of their pocket, and it's just crumpled bills.
Oh yeah.
And just throw it on the counter. Like you count it.
Your problem now,
It's
pal.
enough, right? So I'm like, thanks. I count it out. A bunch of little assholes, and they buy their shit, and they have barely enough, and then they go. One time I have a horrible, massive migraine. Horrible. This coworker says, here, take these pills. I take the pills. It's okay. And then I found out they're Midol. And I'm like, dude, isn't Midol for like somebody with
menstrual
cramps? And he's like, well, I mean, that's what they're made for, but you can
shows what he thought of you.
They can get rid of headaches too. And the girls all laughed, but the headache went away.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So there you go. You got a headache, you can take Midol, even if you're a man, I guess.
All right, John. My next one was probably one of my most favorite jobs.
Okay.
It was Blockbuster.
Oh.
Yeah. I worked at Blockbuster for a little while, and it was also the second job I got fired from. One of the best parts about working at Blockbuster is you could take like 5 movies home a night. So like every time I'd go home,
I'd take 5 movies home a night.
Yeah. So I just bring 5 every single night, and I just fall asleep every single night watching movies forever.
Sure.
And my boss ended up loving me, and this was a time where I was going through like my late teens, 18, 19, and was kind of in between places where I was living. So I was taking every shift I could get. I was working at like 6, 7 different Blockbusters a week, doing double shifts all over the place as much as I could, just pounding the Blockbuster
And that
hours.
was minimum wage then, right?
Oh, yeah. I think it was like $7.25 an hour or something like that. I think it might have, yeah, it's probably $7.20. I know the minimum wage was around $7.25 at that point in time. But, so, one of the things that I remember about that job is I got fired the same month that I got Employee of the Month. No. Tough distinction.
It reminds me of Friday. Like, how do you get fired on your day off, dude?
So they had this hard and fast rule where if your drawer was off by more than $3.60 3 times, no questions asked, you were fired on the spot.
Was there any question why it was $3.60?
No clue, but on it was the night before Thanksgiving. Had closed the previous night and did a double that day with my boss, who absolutely loved me. Dude cried when he fired me. So I've been on the phone with corporate for the last half hour. They won't let me do anything. I gotta fire you.
Oh Jesus!
Oh yeah,
wow.
yeah. Dude, totally loved me. We used to go to we used to like work all night, leave at midnight, go over to Canada, go to the casino, play until 9 in the morning, come back, open up the store at 10, and we take turns sleeping in the back room.
That sounds crazy.
Yeah. So. But the way they ran the drawers is, number one, you didn't get to count your own drawer. Number two, it wasn't exclusively your own drawer.
Okay.
So I'm at all these different stores and stuff, and who knows who's opening it up, closing it up. So on my record, over like 7 months, my drawer was off 3 or 4 times, and I don't know if the jackass just couldn't count, or if somebody else was messing with my drawer, or whatever the case was. But yeah, I got fired the same month. I was the reigning Employee of the Month.
Did you ever think that somebody sabotaged you?
No.
Just it happens, and
well, there was a common scam at the Blockbuster representatives used to run back in the day.
Okay.
So when you rented a movie, the movie was something like, I think it came like $4.25. So when people paid in cash, they'd normally pay $5.50 in cash. So when a representative wanted to get a pop for the day and they didn't want to spend their own money, so let's say the pop was $1.50, they'd run a skim operation on anyone that paid in cash from the day. Because if you're buying something for $5 and I give you back your quarters change, you're not going to really look closely to see if you got 2 quarters or 3 quarters.
Even management was skimming the system.
So 1 quarter at a time, people would skim the extra quarter until they had enough to get a pop. So you do that in and out enough times, and
it's just a quarter.
And you're bound to screw yourself on the drawer. But yeah,
I mean, I guess, jeez, Blockbuster. They never had that back room. There were some adult videos that had the back room, but Blockbuster never had the adult room, right? It was always
no
back room. They were always family video, right?
We kind of had our own adult room, but that was for employees only.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I mean, that being said,
we're gonna have to start picking up the pace here, John.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I got a lot of jobs.
Yeah, I want to cut into you. I actually worked in the GM mailroom, the General Motors mailroom downtown in the General Motors building through a temp agency for exactly 90 days because I'm working it, and it's a mailroom. You don't know it. You just come down, you get the mail, you got to sort it. It's not very difficult, and then you run the mail. Very, very simple job. So, one story, guy I work with, he delivers to the top floor of the executives. Apparently, he comes down, he says one of the executives is hitting on him. Now, this executive has a wife and children, and it's a male executive that's hitting on him. So I'm laughing because I'm a child, and I think it's funny. I'm like, oh, you're getting hit on, ha, ha, ha. He's like, no, seriously, and I'm very uncomfortable. So they actually got a sting, like literal, and had him wired, went out, recorded him. That dude had to quit. He didn't get fired. He had to quit, though. He had to resign and take his pension, and that was crazy. And then after 90 days, the temp agency let me go, and I was like, what happened? And my mom's like, some agencies will hire you for like 89 days and then fire you, so they don't have to pay you like the insurance or whatever they have to get to you. So that was that. I mean, the GM mailroom job was interesting, but it was just weird. That guy on the top was just flirting with all the mail, not me, but all the mail boys, and he wanted...
It's been going on all along, John.
I mean, there you go. What about you? Hit me with it.
My next job was my first attempt at making a responsible adult decision. I was hit by a car when I was 15, got a small settlement, and had a bunch of cash in my hand as a 19-year-old guy. And what I really wanted to do with it was go buy a nice, shiny RX-7. I can still close my eyes and see this beautiful red sports car.
I knew it was red.
Yeah, it was about $8,000 or $9,000. I had $10,000 in cash, the most I've ever had at that point in time, I think even still, that I've ever had in my hand.
There you go.
And I hear my parents' voices in my head and all of that, and how pissed they'd be when I come rolling in the driveway with this thing. So I left the dealership, waited a little bit, and ended up getting duped into one of these pyramid scams.
Oh, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I go to one of those pitch seminar things, and they're like, listen, we all showed up in BMWs today. You sell and work hard. You can climb up the ladder and get a team of people underneath you. We're selling Equinox. It's cleaning products that are good for the environment. And people are going to love these. They're going to sell themselves because who doesn't want healthy products?
Yeah, I'm pumped already. Yeah. I'm ready. Let's go sell it.
This is like the late 90s when nobody gave a fuck about being like socially conscious. So freaking then they're like, listen, if you buy all the product today, you can jump from level 1 to level 2 automatically, and you'll get a higher commission rate and all of that. I'm like, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well buy all the water purifiers, the cleaning products, all this. So I took that 10 grand and plopped it down on a shitload of water purifiers and brought boxes and boxes of stuff home. And
I'm so sorry.
Well, my mom never forgave me for it.
Of course not.
And I was trying to make the smart, responsible decision, and
so
the best of intentions.
How much did you spend?
About $10,000 on all these cleaning products.
Oh, you literally spent everything you made? Everything that
yeah. Because I was going to turn it all over, John.
Yeah,
You're going to sell all this? Everyone's going to want water purifiers. Who doesn't want healthy living in 1997? Nobody.
Shit, dude.
Nobody.
Oh, my God.
So we had water purifiers for days, for years, cleaning products for days and years. I think I made, out of pity, sold maybe $1,000 worth of merchandise back.
Ugh.
And, yeah.
That's killing me. That's killing me.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Just so you know, I don't have I've forgotten some of mine, but I don't have nearly as many as you do.
I worked a lot of 2 jobs, and I was
ton.
kind of a hustler. If I was always looking for another job that would pay a little bit more. If you offered me 15 cents an hour more, I was coming. It was basically like that scene from Heat.
Don't let yourself get attached to anything you are not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner.
That I never brought personal items to work. I always had a box under my desk. There was nothing I ever got into that I wasn't ready to leave within 30 seconds if I felt the heat coming around the corner, John.
And what do you mean? What do you mean the heat coming around the corner? In case you weren't performing well, you were like, I'm out before they fire me.
No, if a better job came along, I was ready to roll. If shit got weird, I was ready to roll. Okay. If they tried to step to me, I was ready to roll. Like I wasn't hearing it, John. Like I'm not doing this bullshit.
Fair enough. Can't say I blame you. I'm surprised you did it when you were so young. It sounds good. Let's see. So I don't know if these might not be in exactly the same or the right order, but it doesn't matter. I also had a job at a seafood place called Waves, and Matt, who's coming out, he worked there with me, and it was a hoot.
A hoot, huh?
Yeah. I ended up. There was a smoking section. That's how long ago it was. There was a smoking section, and of course, I always had the smoking section. And there's if you see a cigarette butt in the ashtray, you have to empty that cigarette butt, even if it's just one. So I'm like, okay, every time I would walk out from the kitchen, there would be cigarette butts in ashtrays. So I have to go out of my way to empty them.
Got 'em.
And they're like, did you get that drink order on this table? I'm like, I'm trying, but I'm clearing cigarette butts every time I walk out here. And they're just like, So I got fed up with it, and I was such a coward that the way I ultimately quit was I slipped in the kitchen and hurt my back. And that was the end of that career. It was horrible. I hated it.
All right, John, I'm going to start doing 2 for your 1.
You're going to have to.
Yeah. So the next job I had was in the payment processing department of M&T Bank. When people sent their credit card payments, their mortgage payments, and all of that, we were the ones that put it in the machine and scanned it all into there.
Okay.
The one memorable thing from this job is I was 21 at the time and had a really attractive older boss that was in her mid-30s. She looked like Jennifer Aniston. And
I don't know about that. I'll assume that you felt that way. I've had people say this person looked just like this person, and they
she
didn't
looked
look
like Jennifer
like
Aniston, dude. Definitely, maybe like a poor man's Jennifer Aniston.
Then she didn't look like Jennifer Aniston.
She was still super attractive.
Okay.
I won her over and started hooking up with my boss with the most smoothest method ever, John.
And what was the smoothest method ever?
While we were working the scanner together the one day, I twapped her in the thigh with a rubber band.
And that did it.
That got the sparks going.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. The rubber band on the thigh gets them every time.
I was giving her a back massage at my parents' house by our lunch break.
And that's how that was the victory?
Oh, yeah. No, well, that was the
lead up.
Yeah, that was how things got started, John.
Wow. Where was that? Oh, the bank. Your bank manager.
Yep.
Excellent.
My next job was probably my most formative job, and the one that probably had the most impact on who I am today, John.
Okay.
It was a pizza delivery guy for the local pizzeria in North Tonawanda, and I was infamous as the local pizza guy because all the cops got their pizza from this pizzeria.
Okay.
So they wouldn't touch you no matter how bad you drove, how crazy and reckless you drove, and all of that because you're the pizza guy. You don't mess with the pizza guy that brings all their food for their weekly police meetings and all of that. So it's pretty much untouchable as driving for a while, other than Nathan, but that's a story for another day. But during the time working at that pizzeria, there was another guy there. His name was George. He was probably in his late 50s. It was a second job for him. He was like head in maintenance for Children's Hospital downtown, and would work this second job in the suburbs. And he called himself G Money. And George was the one.
I already don't like him.
Oh, he was great. He was the one that taught me how to hustle. Man, we were doing everything.
I mean, maybe the name is appropriate then. G Money. Taught you how to get some money.
He taught me how to be a hustler, how to always find a way to keep trying to progress forward, to look for an opportunity, and just hustle. And there was so much street knowledge that I got from working at that pizzeria. I was a bookie for a little bit of period of time. I ran numbers at my community college, and all this stuff was going through the pizzeria.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was an eye-opening experience.
You were a bookie for a little bit.
Yeah.
Dude, okay.
Because the guy that owned the pizzeria was one of the biggest bookies in Buffalo.
Oh.
So all the numbers kind of ran through the pizzeria, and it was kind of just one of those natural things that you did on the side while working at the pizzeria.
Well, I mean, was it fun?
Oh, it was great until G Money had to pull a gun on somebody because he bet like $1,000 in college games and then wanted to skip town on me.
It always ends with a gun. Someone pulling a gun.
Oh, yeah. Now I was like, I ain't got the tolerance for this.
That's horrible. Speaking of guns, actually, it's funny that you say that because no one actually brought a gun into my next job, but when I worked at Friend of the Court. Do you know what Friend of the Court is?
No.
Friend of the Court is like child custody payments and all that other stuff. So I've worked in Detroit in the Friend of the Court. And it was funny because my own father, who divorced my mother at a young age, didn't pay child support. Yeah, I'm saying it officially, apparently on the air. He didn't pay child support, and he still hasn't. And he probably won't ever. So I guess that's the way it is. But my mom used to work in the courts, and then she said, you got to have a job. So I went to the Friend of the Court, worked at, and it was interesting because the job, I would get my work done probably in the morning, and then I had the afternoon to do what I wanted. So I knew I could balance my goofing off between work and whatever, and I would be tired. So I would end up going into the bath. Matt reminded me of this the other day. I don't know how he even knew. I would actually go to the bathroom and go to sleep in one of the bathrooms because they were all over the floors.
I've done a lot of sleeping buildings in the bathrooms.
But apparently one dude kept finding me, and then he ended up telling my brother, and my brother came up, he's like, hey dude, so-and-so came up and said, so you got to stop sleeping in the bathroom. Like you're snoring, and it's loud, and it's very obvious that you're sleeping in the bathroom. I was like, Friend of the Court. I hated that. Anyway, let's move on. What do you got? What do you got?
So the next couple jobs is where things start really getting weird. These next four are all quick ones, so I'll just blow through them.
Beautiful.
I worked less than a half a day doing hot tub covers in a factory with one of my buddies.
Weird.
We weren't allowed to freaking talk to anyone. We weren't allowed to have a radio on, and we weren't allowed to wear any masks or anything, even though we were covered in noxious fumes from melting styrofoam as they melted and cut these styrofoam lids for hot tub covers.
Okay.
My buddy and I came back from lunch at 12:01 on our first day, and this miserable old woman that was the supervisor starts screaming and yelling at us about coming in late, and we just didn't say a word to her, turned around and walked right back out the door. That was the end of that one.
Yeah, so much for her.
Another one of these jobs was a lady wax kit assembly line. Where we had to package all the little strips and wax and stuff that goes into hair removal. Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
ooh.
We were packaging those kits. That was a temp job that we end up losing because the third guy that we were kind of friends with, and by friends with only because we went to the same high school and we didn't really like him, he got fired for sexually harassing the ugliest female boss you'll ever see in your entire life. And somehow they had us reassigned because of our association with him.
Really?
Yeah. Then the next job was in a mall where we had to try and get people to sign up for free home security systems. Hey, sign up to win a free home security system. Da, 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 da.
Again, that sounds like a miserable job.
So I worked in one mall, and my buddy worked in the other mall, and these malls were separated by about 5 miles or so from each other. So we would completely screw around with these jobs all the time. He had an arcade at his mall, I had an arcade at my mall, and they both had bubble hockey.
Ooh.
So we would have best of 7 series, and they were actually away.
And you had home
yeah,
and
so
away?
you'd go to his mall for the away games. He came to my mall for...
That is so funny.
and
home ice advantage.
So if you got somebody to sign up for the register for free home security system, you got $1 for each one you got to sign up. But if they end up being a false lead or didn't respond when you called, you got charged $1.25 for a false lead. And we didn't find this out until we were using the phone book, and we were just filling them out forever.
Are you sure?
And we end up getting like a negative paycheck the 1 week because they bounced them all.
Oh my!
Yeah.
So you got $1 for succeeding, and you got punished $1.25.
Got charged
$1.25
for fake leads.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
That sounds ridiculous. All right, let me see. Next job for me, another restaurant job. I've been doing it for a while.
Jesus, you're really stuck in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. So it was Champs Americana in Troy. It was an American food restaurant. Troy's a pretty nice community in southeastern Michigan. Lots of money. A lot of beautiful girls. None for Johnny, but it was a lot of fun. Went to a few parties there. Actually learned, I took my first hit of nitrous when I worked there ever. And it was weird because it was an a basement party. And they had those, you remember those big balloons you'd blow up and you could just hit them over and over, and they were just big and strong?
Yeah.
Well, they would fill those with nitrous.
Oh.
And those, I didn't know, right? So my friend's like, hey, this is how you got to take the hit. This is how you got to do it. So you got to blow.
You always need someone to show you.
You got to inhale suck the nitrous in, and then
show the kids.
And then blow back into the balloon, and then suck it back in. Well, now you're sucking in even less oxygen, so now you start to pass out, and then you're like, oh, it feels weird.
You're hotboxing your nitros.
Yeah. So it wasn't good. So I took a spill, and some guy thought I was like the Kool-Aid Man, so that's what he started calling me at work from now on, the Kool-Aid Man.
Hey, T-Bone!
That's how I was known as the Kool-Aid Man, thanks to that damn job.
One of my other odd jobs was we had to cold sell motivational posters. You know, the ones at the golf course, like every hole can be the 18th hole if you try hard enough and all this weird shit. Yeah. So
I thought my jobs were bad. You got some pretty bad jobs.
You had to at the start of each day, you had to go and grab a whole bunch of these glass framed posters, fill them up in your personal car, then drive around and go to businesses and walk in and just solicit them. And here was the pitch you were supposed to have. So we just finished a decorating job down the street, and we had some leftover posters, and we were just wondering if anybody wanted any of them. Yeah. So this job, I used to go and just park on Grand Island and sleep in my car until the hours were done, and then just came back home. This job sucked when I had to slam on the brakes one day, and all the posters came flying forward, smashed and shattered, and we were expected to reimburse for all of the pictures that broke in the car.
Oh, my God.
That was the end of that job.
Yeah, clearly. So you didn't have to pay, I'm assuming, right?
I didn't pay, no. I was like, take it out of whatever paycheck I've got that's nothing,
right.
And I'm out. Another one was a building supply warehouse where we had to unload 100-pound boxes of siding for the huge boxes of siding on the cars. We had to unload the semi-trucks that would bring them in and load it there. Used to find little forts from the plywood and all of that and sleep way back in the back of the warehouse.
Always sleep, I hear you.
Hung gutters and roofing for a summer. One of the roofing or gutter jobs we did was on this big giant church where it was like, I don't know, 7-8 stories up and a full steeple like this.
No.
And the gutter was 135 feet long, and we're trying to all bring it up the ladders on it.
No.
Oh, dude, it was not
Sorry,
good.
Dude.
Yeah.
I can't do that with the heights. Are you kidding me?
Oh, I was not a fan at all.
That's crazy. That is so insane.
All right, back to you before
We got another one for me? All right, let's see. So then I went to delivering pizzas. And I worked for Hungry Howie's Pizzas and Subs. And it was fun. I mean, it was fun.
Was it a fun job?
Right? You delivered pizzas. You just listened to music and you just delivered pizzas. It's really not a complicated job. It's very easy, laid back.
Get some side hustles going.
You totally could. Well, I actually, because I was so bored driving at times, that I actually learned how to raise one eyebrow. I would actually I'd actually put, this is how bored I was. This is exactly how bored I was. I'd put one hand here and just raise my eyebrows. Because I think I saw The Rock do it or some other actor do it. I'm like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, I want to do that.
That's what I'm doing right now.
But I can only do the right one because when I was driving, it was just the right one.
Do the left one.
The right one. And then I'm like, okay, now I can do it, but I can't do the left one. So everyone's like, do the left one. Can't do it. I need to go drive. I need to deliver pizzas for another 6 months.
Nobody has The Rock to do the other one.
So I could get it down so I can do them both. Right? That was pizza. I mean, not necessarily the best, but...
Well, we're blowing through these jobs, and we don't have much time left, so we're gonna take a quick commercial break, get a little water in our mouths here, and we're gonna continue on with the list. All right, John. So back to me on this. Kostas. Kostas was Greek food in the food court. It was one of my second jobs that I worked on the side. And not much to say. Worked at the cash register. There was a big fat dude that was cooking the back that was a cool dude. Can't remember his name, but he was the one that got me onto smoking weed. Up until that point, I was 21, 22, never really smoked weed. And I rode my bike. Because, again, this is all on Niagara Falls Boulevard. Most of my jobs were, so they were all my bike riding wheelhouse. And it was pouring rain the one night, and I'll never forget. And he's like, you riding your bike again? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'll give you a ride home on one condition.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, what's that? He's like, you smoke a blunt with me on the way home.
Oh, well.
I'm like, well, I don't really smoke. He's like, I guess you're riding home in the rain. I'm like, guess I'm smoking that blunt.
Yeah, seriously.
And been on that horse ever since.
Literally.
Then came the dark ages, as I like to call it. Pretty much from then on through my 20s, I worked in the collection agencies, and worked in 7 different collection agencies in both Buffalo and in Georgia for a period of time, and had 7 different places. It was small ones, big ones, all over the place.
That's at least you had, like, you could ride your bicycle to where you needed to go. Like, some of the places I had to go, I didn't even have a bike, and I had to walk it, or I had to get rides from people, so at least you were in a wheelhouse.
There's not a real good metro system in Buffalo. They don't think you have to get anywhere.
I didn't think the metro system was good in Detroit, although I never really tried it. The bus system is probably not that good either. Let's see. Are you good?
Yeah, next. Back to you.
Excellent. So then I worked through another temp agency for GM OnStar. No relation to when I worked in the GM mailroom. It was completely different. But that was interesting because I work in revenue management and you had to find revenue leakage. It's not the most exciting job. Again, I still consider it.
You mean people stealing?
Or that, or maybe someone's getting something and they shouldn't be, and something's set up the way it isn't. So you have to find if there's any leakage and then find a way to stop the leakage.
Seal the leakage. That's what she said.
Yeah, right. So it was interesting, and again, I did my job very well to the point where my boss appreciated it, and there were times when I smoked cigarettes then, so I could go out and have a cigarette break anytime I wanted. Well, everyone else bitched, because like, why does he get to go out on a cigarette break? I don't smoke, and I can't go out on that break. It's like, well, I bust my ass, I get my work done, I have a boss who works directly for GM, and she can tell me what I can and can't do, and that's what I did. But the problem is that I started to take advantage. Once you get a little bit of power. People don't realize it, and once you get that power and you realize you can cheat a little bit, you start to cheat a little more and a little more.
Welcome to the collection agency.
And then she had to put me in my place, and she was like, "Hey, listen, just so you know, stop taking advantage. I'm just telling you now before it gets out of control." And she put me in my place, and that was it was good stuff. But I mean, power definitely corrupts.
All right, so all of my jobs from here on out are now in California. So my first job when I came to California is I was a professional poker player. For about a year and a half, I made it off of nothing but poker. And then my grandma died, and I went back to Buffalo for a period of time and spent my whole bankroll that I had saved up for poker back in Buffalo. I was there too long, and then by the time I came back out here, didn't have enough money to start playing again, and haven't really had the bankroll to be a poker player since. But for a good year and a half, I built up a several $1,000 bankroll of playing poker.
That's astounding to me because you're basically playing a game, and you were living off playing a game, which I've always thought since I was
year.
young. I thought that was great. I mean, if I could be a poker player professionally, or even to support myself, I would probably consider doing, because it's just like, well, you're not working. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of stress involved with that as well, though,
Yeah,
right?
the biggest part of it is bankroll management. If you just play the sound math and have bankroll management and don't chase, then it's a fairly easy proposition to do. Then when I came back and didn't have the bankroll to go into poker, that's when I got my job at Warner Brothers. Worked in the payment processing department at Warner Brothers.
Okay.
The big takeaway from Warner Brothers was that's where I started writing scripts. I started walking around the back lot on my lunch breaks and really got exposed to the entertainment industry for the first time and realized it was a real thing. Unfortunately, I was in an administrative department and not a creative department, so while I was scanning the bills all day, I used my time to write the scripts. And ultimately, I got into a spite battle with
Wait a minute.
with my management.
You got into a spite battle with
Yeah,
somebody?
yeah.
Oh, that's so shocking.
Because
you guys...
They knew I wanted to quit and go try making movies and chasing the dream and all of that stuff.
Right.
But I knew that I couldn't quit and go do that without a fallback.
Okay.
So I wanted to get fired. So I was kind of mailing it in, even though I was still crushing the numbers that these union folks were doing by just living off the bare minimum. But so like for a year, we went by with this spite battle. I'm like, just lay me off, just fire me. Then they're like, no, just quit and go do what you want to do. Da 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 da. And then finally, they pulled me aside to one day and they're like, listen, here's your
Severance pay?
your time off check, your vacation check, and your last check that's coming. So they give me 3 checks at once. Said you're done. You can go and file for unemployment. Da 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 da.
That's
Take care.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, found out why.
Uh-oh.
This was 2000. This was 2008.
Oh.
A month later, the economy dropped and fell through the floor, and they shipped the entire department over to Norway. So everybody got laid off and lost all their jobs.
Uh-oh.
So because of the economy falling out and everybody losing their jobs, that's when I got on unemployment and extended unemployment, and that's how we got the perfect house and first timers and all of that made.
Which is again interesting, because you've been in the industry, and I'm not going to go too much on a tangent, but you've been in the industry longer than I have, and I've really just kind of followed more on the outside looking in. So it's just interesting that even back then you were really, well, you said you had just come out here, right?
Yeah, I moved out here early 2007.
Okay, that's right. But that's just interesting to me that you've been pushing for so long, even though I've known you almost the whole time you've been here. Okay, let me hit on a couple. I'm going to hit a few real quick because I know we definitely are winding. So I'd also worked at a bar as a cargo van driver. So I was not a cargo, but driving passengers to and from like the game, like with the Red Wings game, Pistons game, whatever. I would drive them to and from.
I see you being a shuttle driver.
Oh, it was fun. It was so much fun. It really was. People would get drunk and they were just and it was fun. One time I actually literally went on the sidewalk to get around people because they were like, "Do it!" and the whole van was chanting. I'm like, "Yeah, I am gonna do it." So I went all on the sidewalk and it's all, the van's all driving all over and everyone's
You're
like,
such a beta.
Yeah. Oh, there. Yeah, whatever. They tipped me out. I thought it was good. It was a lot of fun. While I was doing that, I also worked at a Kroger, which is a grocery store. People out here know it as Ralph's. They probably own a bunch of other things. Cashier.
Wegmans for life.
Not the most glorious job. That's pretty much cashier.
Wegmans.
You guys have been there. I'm just trying to wind this down. And I also at the same time, because after this, when I worked Kroger and then this next job at a law firm, just as like I take papers to the courts and have them get signed and just kind of, again, I was probably like a gopher, but they were very respectful to me and very nice, which I liked because they were all very much older than me, and it was a lot of fun. And then after that, I actually ended up moving to California. Now you can actually.
All right. So my first actual attempt at doing something in the entertainment industry was I was an assistant for a couple weeks for. You probably know this name better than I do, but Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, the live action show. It was kind of like, to me, it was a ripoff of the Power Rangers.
It probably was.
Yeah, it was very similar to that. But I helped out in wardrobe for that, and that was awesome. Just being on a set and dude, craft services and catered lunches.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. It was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
I was hooked from the first set I walked on. The next thing I did in the industry was I did teleprompter for a little bit. I'd go to this warehouse, pick up the teleprompter thing for book gigs, and then go to set up the teleprompter and turn the wheel and operate it. Big takeaway from that story was there was a promo music video thing done back in the late 2009 or 10 for Entourage. and they did this music video, and they had me do the teleprompter for this rap verse sequence that they brought Gary Busey in to do the rap verse.
Oh, I remember seeing it.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he was a total mess.
Really?
Trying to run the teleprompter for Gary Busey is one of the funniest experiences
I
have in my life.
I'm pretty sure I saw him. TBS, you said, right?
Oh yeah, it was from a long time ago when they were going into syndication.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. You still good?
No, back to you.
Okay. So then I moved to California. So I quit the Kroger and I quit because I worked those two at the same time, the law firm and Kroger, and I saved up money. And then I moved out here, and I ended up working at a steakhouse in the Grove. That's no longer there anymore. I wanted to be a server. Started
at the bottom. Now you're
we're
on top.
hiring you as a host. That's all we have positions for. We hire everyone as a host, and then they work their way
I don't think
up.
you're pretty enough to be a host.
Well, not a hostess, let's be honest, but a host. So anyway, I know I have a face for radio. That's what I've been told. Started off as a host, then went to food runner, then went to server, and the whole time,
Climbing the ladder.
management was trash. Just the general manager. He was an asshole. He always brought his negative. His girlfriend was a crackhead, and he was. I'm sure he was a drug addict of some sort. And he said, never bring your.
Sounds like Old Man Rivers management.
Never bring your bullshit to work. Never bring it to work. And he would always bring it to work. I'm not going to use his name, but anyone who worked for Morel's, you know who he was, and you know how he was. Sorry. Yeah. So that was that. That was that. And then the next thing I worked on with you actually. We did that video for that white rapper guy. Remember, there was the boat and the helicopter. And when
I remember this.
Remember we drove and you got angry because you got the road rage?
Oh yeah. I didn't have a license. I volunteered to be a PA for that thing, and they're like, "Oh, hey, I know it's 5:30 p.m. and you've never driven a cargo van before, but how about you drive it 3 hours north through traffic in rush hour at the end of the 12-hour shift we said you were going to do for free, and take all the liability on our behalf." Yeah,
I mean,
I blew up on that.
No, of course, but I'm saying that was one of the ones.
I completely
I'm
forgot.
Sure you didn't even remember
blocked that shit out.
Yeah, but the other part, I mean, other than the driving, it was fun, right?
Yeah, it was up until they decided I was an easy guy to put under the liability freaking fence.
All right, what do you got?
We did quality control for Netflix and another company for a while, where we had to watch 3 minutes of Netflix videos and a couple second interview through the whole video. And we got paid like $5 or $6 per 3 minutes on that.
Oh, nice.
So me and Andrea just sat there pulling them out of the queue because you could work from home. And we did that around the clock until there was nothing left in there. And then we pounded through that. It was a great job for a couple weeks. But
I screwed this up.
Screwed up the soundboard. Then
Sorry.
I did for a little period of time. I worked for one of the event setup companies around here where we would show up at like 5 a.m, set up the tents and the chairs and all of this stuff for either an away location for where the food and all of that was going to be set up, or holding for the actors and all of that different stuff. Not really much takeaway from that. It was a pain in the ass.
Okay.
Then there was Uber, Lyft, and Amazon, which speak for themselves.
Oh, we're really starting. We're catching up now, huh?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so then I worked at another restaurant here because, as a busser. And again, the manager ended up, she was beautiful. I won't use names. She was so sexy, but she was
swapped her with a rubber band.
Right? But she was such a bitch. She said, "You're not ready." I'm like, I've served like a ton of my life. You're not ready to be a food runner. You're not ready. And she was horrible. She was a horrible manager. She would bring her boyfriend in on a busy Saturday night when she wasn't working. So they would come in and like eat at the bar when everyone's like scrambling around. She'd be like, "Can I have this?" It's like, "Bitch, what are you doing?" Like, come on. It was just, she was horrible, and she just got promoted again. I'm told. And then I ended up going to the Tokyo Del's Rock and Roll Sushi Bar. I was dancing. Remember?
I remember when you did that for a little bit.
When you guys were helping me out, I was dancing for a month. A dancing server. I'm a big boy. It's not a lot of fun to be a dancing server as a big boy. Just so you know, there was some NSYNC dancing. There was some
that always
YMCA.
made me think of Monica from Friends when she was working at like the character restaurant and had to always do the song and dance.
We weren't in character. We just dressed all stupid. But that place was horrible. They never ID'd. They never took anything but cash. So if you didn't have cash, they had an ATM so you could get cash. But that was it.
Probably charged like $10.
Of course, I'm sure I never even looked. But they never ID'd. There was horrible training. It was horrible. And then the next job, because I know we're coming down to the end, was, should I even say his name?
Oh, absolutely.
Gabrielli's Plastics.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. I wish I had that queued up. I don't have it, so I'm so sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, folks. But that was, I was a phone guy. That's what I called myself. A phone guy. And it was a
sweatshop. Let's call it what it was.
I don't like being a phone guy. Like I don't like answering the phones. He didn't.
That was a boiler room sweatshop.
It's like you were sales, but he wouldn't give you anything for selling anything that you sold. Even though he had regulars and the such, and it was an office job. It was horrible. It was definitely horrible.
All right. One of my other ones was I did PA and grip for a documentary that was never released for a million different reasons, which remind me on another Gratcast I will have to tell you about this trip to Vegas where this is where I met Pachotti. Was on this trip to Vegas, and it was for Jodeci. Yeah, they were trying to do this comeback documentary that was going to be the next Purple Rain, and it was really just we're using somebody else's money to bang Craigslist hoes in a hotel room for the entire weekend while jerking this crew all over Vegas and getting nothing done.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that was an experience. I was script supervisor for the short that we did that won Best Comedy at the Star Wars
San
thing
Diego
at
Comic-Con.
Yep.
Solo forever.
Producer, writer, director on The Perfect House. And then finally, CEO of Gratwick Films, or Gratwick Productions, sorry. Took a while to get to here, but I love the job I have now, and I'm going to try and hold on to this one as long as I can. I got a great boss. He's the first sane asshole I've worked for in my entire life.
He understands how you speak and how you act.
We're
amazing.
We're on the same page most of the time.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Well, I mean, my most recent job, as I had one left, is I just work in a hotel restaurant in Beverly Hills. It's fun for the most part, but I need my time, guys. I need my time. Like, I have a life, and I definitely need to devote more time to Gratcast and Gratwick, as well as to
Dude
myself.
works part-time.
So,
part-time employee, and he's got to fight to get one day off a week. How does that work? How do those numbers work?
I'm over 40 hours a week, easy. Every shift is 9 hours. Every shift is 8 to 9 hours.
Part-time.
Yeah, part-time. And I when I think about that, what a joke. So...
All right, John, we're going to squeeze out 2 quick bullet blitzes here. Answer's got to be real quick and short, and then we're going to bring this in for a landing. I'll go first while you get queued up there with the bullet blitz sound effect. And my first one is, of all the jobs you've had, John,
Yeah.
is the bullet blitz sound effect going to come? There it is. Okay. Now, of all the jobs you've had, John, is there one that you miss or wish you still had?
I mean, I wouldn't say that I wish I still had it, but I actually did enjoy extra work, even though I didn't hit touch the subject. It was a lot of fun, like you said. I love the idea of the crafty. They always feed you. Normally, if it's a good show, it's always a good meal, and you're always content. Sometimes you're just sitting around doing nothing, which is great that you're getting paid. But then you see how they do the things, and I like how to watching the director and the assistant director and how they talk, and maybe the director of photography.
Yeah, just being exposed to it, it's amazing how much you can pick up.
So the extra work, I know it sounds of all the things I've done, I probably could have chosen anything, but that I really do appreciate that.
I have to say I'm glad you did the extra work because you did the extra work with Andrea. That's how you guys met. And
exactly.
That's how we met. We would have never known you without the extra work.
And you don't eat the meats, but there was a great steak spread, or it was an amazing dish, right, on the Office. It was incredible.
Awesome.
It was incredible. So let's see. What am I going to do for mine? Let's see. We've got
my job that I missed is.
Sorry.
I probably would never go back to it, but the one I really loved, where that was probably the most fun, was the pizzeria one. And I remember my first day at that job, they're like, you can eat as much pizza and wings and stuff as you want. You'll get sick of it. Everybody always does. 5 years later, if I'm making you 20 wings, I'm making 5 wings for myself. Still.
That's actually hilarious. Wow. Okay. Well, fair enough. My next bullet blitz is, like, when you work somewhere long enough, you get complacent. Even if you don't like the job. Like, even at Gabrielle's, there's a certain, even though I didn't like it, there was a certain amount of complacency, even though it wasn't a good job. And when you get complacency, you just kind of settle in and you just accept, like what's going on. And I don't, like, the current job I'm in, again, I love my job, but we just discussed it. They're working me more hours than I'd like to work. I'm supposed to be something that I'm not, and I want to leave. Like, I genuinely want to leave. But we're so tight, I told you this off camera, we're so tight that I don't want to screw my coworkers over because they're actually all good people. They're not doing anything wrong. We just have so little staff that we have to work a ton. And okay.
Where are you
I'm
going
taking
with
it
this,
too
John?
long. Have you ever had a job where you felt you were trapped? That's the question.
Yeah, well, the collections jobs for sure. My last 2 years in collections, I knew I was burnt out, but I was living off my name and reputation from my past abilities in collections. And every day I showed up, it was so stressful, and it ended up giving me a panic attack when I finally quit and slammed the phone down the one day, and a month later I was in L.A. But yeah, it was terrible because I knew I was done, and it was just a matter of time before they figured it out that I couldn't collect coins.
And then one last thing, how did you feel when you finally were like, I'm done, and you knew it was over? Did you feel good? Did you feel nervous? Were you scared? Because you didn't know what was going to happen, or you were like, nope, I already know, I'm done, and this is what I'm doing.
I mean, I was pretty much checked. Like once I was done with the job, that was it. There was no looking back. There was no going back. Like I said, I always had a box under my desk that I was ready to walk at a moment's notice. I was at a collection agency for 5-6 years, one of them, and I walked 5 minutes after thinking about it. I was going to walk and was ready to go. No, if I was done with the job, I was done with the job because I never went there looking to have a career. I never went there like collections at one point I did, but there was only collector and manager. There was no anywhere to go up from there.
Yeah.
And when I got passed over a gazillion times over to be a manager, it was like, you know what, I'm done trying to play the corporate game. I'm done trying to raise the ladder on all of this shit. I never wanted this dead end job in the first place.
Yeah, I know. I don't blame you.
I got into it because I wanted to be a stockbroker, and I was like, if I can get money out of poor people, I should be able to get money out of rich people.
That's a good point. But
10 years went by.
But let's say moving forward, what's your next point?
You have to answer your own.
No, I did. The job I'm in right now, I feel trapped.
Oh,
that's what I was saying.
That's
what I'm saying.
Sorry,
I didn't realize if I didn't.
You'd answered it before you asked the
question. Before I even asked, I'm supposed to do it the other way. So sorry.
All right, my final one, super quick one. Labor Day special question. What is the better barbecue meat, John? Pork, beef, or chicken?
I'm gonna just to blurt something out because I love them all. Beef.
Yeah, I gotta go beef too because the pork's right up there because there's so many different things you can do with the pork.
I know you love the pulled pork.
But the brisket, I can't not pick the brisket as the best barbecue meat, so therefore the beef has to be it.
Yeah, and I'm the beef too. I like it medium rare is my favorite. So you cooked it tonight medium because you thought I said medium. I said medium rare.
It was kind of just a guesstimate.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried. It's all good. I love the meat. I love the beef, and I'll eat it.
All right, what's your final one?
Die. Essentially, I'd lost some. So basically, again, it's not really a Labor Day related, unfortunately, but I have noticed that as I've gotten older, my taste in women has evolved. Like when I was younger, it was always.
You mean it's gotten wider?
Yes, it has. It actually has. I guess that's the way to look at it. I never thought of it like that, but it's when I was younger. I always saw like on TV in the models, and that's what I thought I wanted. And it's like, yeah, pretty girl, pretty woman. And then I get older, and I'm like, you learn more about people and more about life, and it's like it's not just.
I got another hypothesis on that. Why that window opens?
Yeah, I know a lot of people say it because you're getting older. You can't get the attractive ones or the younger ones. So
I'll take anything.
But that's what a lot of people say. but I genuinely feel like legitimately that I feel that now there are more women that I feel are attractive than when I was younger. Maybe that is the case. What you're saying, it definitely makes a lot of sense. But I enjoy that, and I enjoy where I'm at in life and where my whole mindset is. So the question is. Did you ever have somebody that you felt was not your type, but you were attracted to? And mine, because I've expanded, it's like bigger women now. I enjoy.
I'd say the majority of the women I dated weren't specifically kind of my type. They were attractive. They were cute. I liked them. But like if I was like handpicking like personalities and traits,
right? Like you wouldn't pick those.
No.
But they worked for you at the time because it was a match of some sort.
Correct? I never thought long term on anything. Jobs, women, any of that stuff. I mean, so I just like you're fun to hang around with now. I like you. We get along. It was all that. I wasn't like, hey, I wonder if I can climb the ladder on this and it's going to go anywhere.
Yeah, but I feel the same way, and I certainly was the same way. But now it's different. Like the mindset is different. I'm obviously an older guy now, so maybe it is that. But it's also that I think I've matured to a point where I can also see. I'm still superficial. I'm not going to lie, and it's horrible. But
you got to be attracted to somebody,
right? Exactly. But I'm also much more attracted to personality and emotional stability and everything than I am just physical looks.
Well. On that tearjerker of a soft note, we're gonna wrap up Gratcast here. John, get my favorite song queued up. I'm gonna give a little bit of some pimping out. Gratcast every Wednesday. The audio version, the YouTube edited version are posted on Gratwood Productions YouTube page. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Are we doing all the things that you're supposed to do when you run a show now? Hit them, subscribe them, share, like, all that happy horse shit. We'll be back next Monday. John?
We're out.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks, don't mind me. I'ma just
It's the best part of the show when you got the headphones on. You get to listen to it. We gotta have two headphones so I can sing along with it.
Definitely. No, you don't have to sing along with it.
I want to sing along with it.
Don't sing along with it.
Grab my shit and go.
How long is this?
Not long enough.
There it is.